Hi, it's me, it's Greg. Listen, I want to come to you today heart to heart. I want to have a heart to heart with you about something really important. And there was no preparation, there's no script, there's no notes here in front of me, which sometimes there are because it's important. But today I just want to come unscripted and I want to come real. And I want to talk to you about handling the hard, handling hard things. It's so interesting that in life, in the world, in the modern pace, that there's this underlying expectation for us to go hard and go fast. And I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure where that came from, but it's unkind. It's unhealthy. It's not helpful. And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of times when things are going really, really well, and you're doing well, and you're pushing yourself, and you're stretching yourself, and you're aiming for your goals, and you're living your life, and you're trying to grow your relationships and do all of those things, and that's all good stuff. It really is. It's just that we are competing with more things these days in order to be able to maintain our attention. And sometimes hard things happen because we've either made poor decisions, or oftentimes it's through no fault of our own. And that's the part I want to talk to you about, is the part that's happening, that's hard, that's through no fault of your own. They're just circumstantial kinds of things. You've heard me talk a lot about how to be able to perform and do well and overcome and be resilient, and all of those things are good and right. But I want to help you understand. I want to help everybody understand, because we really need this at this point in time, to understand that there are at least two different ways to approach this thing. If you know me, I believe that 95% of all of our life and our success has to do with our mindset, which includes our thoughts and our emotions, right? And there's a lot of talk about the brain and science and mindset and all those kind of things, and a lot of it's good. But here's what I want you to understand, is that there's one approach where you learn, especially in the world that I've worked in the world of neurolinguistics and even hypnosis and coaching and all that stuff, that there are some cool things you can do between everything from affirmations and mindset and thinking right to mindfulness and all these kinds of things to help us live better and perform better and those kinds of things, and those are good. Generally, many of those things are intended for you to be able to operate when things are fairly, I'm gonna use the word normal, okay? Not that there's a normal, but just kind of when things are like you're plugging along, you're pursuing life, you're pursuing your goals, and then sometimes interference shows up and it kind of gets in the way, and you got to navigate around it or through it, and that kind of thing, and you got to get your mindset right, and all of those things are true. But then there's the other stuff, the heavier stuff. This is what we would call trauma. This is different than interference. This is different than challenges and having obstacles and those kinds of things. I'm talking about traumatic stuff. And if you don't believe that any of that's happening in your life, good for you. I mean, if it's true, that's amazing. And yet there's been a lot of things that have been happening, and you don't need me to tell you, with a worldwide pandemic and some of the unrest and those kind of things and the pace of life that we're expected to live at, it can actually do traumatic damage, trauma to us. And I too have been experiencing some of those things myself, and it's been really, really hard at certain times. There's been some really great things, but there's also been some really excruciating things. And here's what I want to tell you, is that some of the mindset and techniques, we'll call them, of being able to be resilient are for that time when things are just like, I've got a few hiccups and road bumps I need to get through. But when it comes to when you're dealing with things that are heavier, things are traumatic, like a death in the family, or somebody passing, or dealing with COVID, or a stroke, or a heart attack, or cancer, or something along those lines, those can be heavier. And by the way, this can include things like maybe somebody crashed and burned with their business, and their whole way of life and income is gone. Those are traumatic experiences. And the approach to working through those kind of hard things is different than what you would expect for a lot of the more normal kinds of stuff, where you're just trying to press through obstacles and challenges. So what's the difference? The difference is between what I would call resilience versus restoration. You see, resilience is us standing our ground and standing against the current when things seem to be challenging or coming at us or being hard and those kinds of things, the obstacles, the road bumps. That's resilience, okay? But when we have trauma that happens to us, and trauma bleeds the life out of us, and actually, as a matter of fact, puts us in a position where we may not have any reserves left, that's when the strategy, the approach needs to shift from resilience to restoration. Like, what do you need to do? What are the practices that you need to put in place for you to be able to find a way to create real renewal and restoration so that you are refreshed, renewed, and restored to be able to continue, to be able to go out and, on top of what you're dealing with, still deal with the obstacles and the road bumps as well. So here's my encouragement to you. Do your homework. Find out what is it for you that helps you actually restore. Not just kind of like escape. Okay, this is different, okay? Escaping from road bumps and hard things and pursuit and all those kinds of things, okay? That's one thing, okay, escape. But in traumatic situations, escape is not helpful. And what I mean by that is that, yes, you may need to take a break. Maybe you need to pull yourself back and not pursue so hard. But what are the practices that are going to help you actually receive restoration? Here's what I've learned over the course of the last year that helps in these particular areas. One of them is beauty. I've heard this from multiple sources, sometimes accidentally and sometimes on purpose in my research, but beauty. Like the beauty of being outdoors. I don't live too far from the river and what we call the green belt here. And sometimes for me just to go out there and sit by the river and listen to the water, refreshing, restoring, that kind of thing. Going for a walk, okay? If you're a prayer or a meditator, those kinds of things can be helpful. This is different than going and playing and having hobbies and those kind of things where you can kind of check out a little bit, but which has some restorative elements to it. But I'm talking about the stuff that really actually changes and restores things, fills you back up, not from energy standpoint, but from a life standpoint. Okay, I hope I'm making some sense for you here, but I just want you to know two things. Number one, resilience is important, and getting through road bumps is important. But then there are heavier things that happen, and the approach to those is not to double down. The approach to those is not to double down and force yourself and push yourself to go through it. Sometimes, my friend, you need to step back, reapproach, rest, restore, disappear from that kind of stuff, and stop pushing yourself. Okay? Why is this important? From a guy who coaches people in performance and life and business and like, go get it, right? Put yourself in power. I believe in that wholeheartedly. Sometimes the way to put yourself in power is to restore your power, not to keep pushing through. Okay? So, number one, it's not your fault. We have so many things coming at us these days. As a matter of fact, if you look at, there's an interesting book called The Shallows. And in this book, the author talks about the idea that we have more information and more things vying for our attention today than we ever have in all of human history, to the tune that this could crash a laptop inside of a week. And I want you to understand that. Our technology is pretty hefty and can handle a lot of stuff. And so if the amount of information that's coming at us as human beings it can crash a laptop, we were never meant to handle all that kind of stuff. Okay? And so that can be traumatic as well. So I love you. That's all I'm trying to say, is I love you and I care. And when you do what you need to do to restore, not just be resilient and push through, guess what's going to happen? You're going to enjoy your life better. You're going to feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And you're going to be able to reapproach your goals and your dreams and your desires and have the energy to do it. Have the wherewithal and the life inside of you to do that sort of thing. So, listen. I said I love you, and I mean it, and I want you to be great, but sometimes being great is not pushing, it's restoring, and I just want to say thanks for letting me share my heart today, okay? So, off-scripted, right? No script, no preparation, but real heart, and I'm just encouraging you to receive that, and take care of you, and then be great. It's what you're made for. We'll talk soon. Bye now.